FSD is drunk driving, trying to avoid these tar lines on the road. I am eating healthy today, folks. So anyways, we've got like 10% more according to the route planner on the car.
Sinkity sink, sink, sink. I'll find that in post.
Even with the headwind, my car is predicting I need to stop and charge for 6 minutes. I think I'm gonna go for it. I can always scrub off a little bit of speed if I have to. It has been colder than expected, and it's been a lot windier than expected, and we're still doing 4 miles per kilowatt hour. It's hitting every single pothole nice. Oh, it sped up through that one. That was rough. Hello, good morning, and welcome back to Out of Spec Motoring, which means an EV road trip. Today we are joining from my Tesla Model 3, the Highland long-range rear-wheel drive, so the base model. And it is kind of the efficiency king at this point. Lucid claims that. I'd kind of like to put them head to head because this thing is averaging close to 5 miles per kilowatt hour around town. Road trips, I did do a road trip back to Kansas City for Christmas, New Year's timing. That was a bit rough because of the winter conditions, but even then, not bad efficiency. But I'm excited to do this trip. I'm going from here on the Front Range of Colorado over the mountains to Park City, where there's other mountains. It should be super gorgeous, amazing views along the way. I'm not even taking that many major highways. It's a lot of lesser highways that are more beautiful in northern Colorado and then northeast Utah. On my car, the impetus for this trip, Nokian tires, Surpass AS01. I've actually been running them on my Miata for a few months now, and I just got them for the Model 3, and it's perfect timing. The weather is gorgeous out here. It is 47 degrees, and I'm waking up to that. Usually in Colorado, it's like 50s in the day, maybe 20s at night, but it's been super, super beautiful. It is a little bit windy, so that should be interesting, but these tires are claiming to be pretty efficient. So I am excited to take them out on a road trip and just see how efficient they are on my drive way over to Park City. So again, my Highland Model 3, this is the long-range rear-wheel drive, so EPA estimate of 363 miles. It actually did 385 or so on our 70-mile-an-hour range test. It is crazy good. 82 kilowatt-hour battery pack, that's approximately maybe 80 kilowatt hours usable. Maybe it was 84 gross, I don't remember. We have all the details on the testing, the nerd stuff on this car. It is now wrapped satin jade from Avery Dennison. Test Bros did that, pretty great job. And it's definitely a striking color, a unique color. I get a lot of comments on it and a lot of positive comments, which is unique in a day and age where a lot of people seem to be hating on Tesla. I'm not getting into politics. This is not why I drive this. This is not why I road trip it. So I am taking my single motor Tesla Model 3 over the mountains on these Surpass AS01s. I'm really excited to give these a go on the Model 3. Even just now putting a couple hundred miles on them, they do ride very nicely. The same wheel spec as the OEM Aero wheels, 18 by 8.5. So the same OEM tire size as well. So it's all OEM pretty much, other than the wheels are slightly lighter than OEM and no aero covers. So we'll see if that has much of an effect at all. And we'll be using FSD-ish on the drive. I'm excited to see how much I can do hands-free, just observing and being ready to take over in case it does something silly. So with that, I'm gonna get it loaded up and send us over the mountains. Should be a lot of fun. All right, everything's battened up. I do have an air compressor in the front just in case. We got the trunk nice and fully packed. Even have my air mattress, or not air mattress, just foam mattress, sleeping bag, just in case I end up doing any car camping along the way. I do like being prepared, and car camping on this thing is pretty phenomenal. Recent video over on Out of Spec Reviews shows all about that. And camera stuff for easy access. The cabin's actually wide open. I could fit 3 or 4 passengers in here as well. So pretty much good to go. Gonna throw up the GoPros and we're gonna hit the road because the sun is rising and I'm trying to do all this within the daylight. All right, so we are sitting here at 100% state of charge, which the car determines is 362 miles. So we may have lost 1 mile of range while sitting here. But looking at this route, I am beyond excited because I've done obviously the I-70 corridor many times, down to Vegas, race to Vegas, down to LA, etc. But I've never really done these mountain roads here. So I've gone to Steamboat before, but never on this channel, so I'm excited to film this area. And it looks like we have one charging stop to get out there. This film should be an out and back situation, so we'll of course see our round trip efficiency and all that, but I will go ahead and set a trip here. So now we have a Park City trip, and that should be the efficiency of this entire thing. The total mileage should be about 500 miles to get there, so about 1,000 miles round trip, because I'll probably do a slightly different route on the way back, just to kind of mix up the scenery. This camera's turning off. I've got cameras everywhere. Really excited to film this route for you all, and let's hit the road. Hopefully you saw back there on the screen overlay when I talked about FSD that I am on 13.2.8, or is it 13.2.8? I don't know. That's the latest version as of today, which is February 24th, 2025. We've had a lot of rolling out of 13 iterative updates. Notably still to come in the release notes is the parking at Final Destination, or select an action at Final Destination. Excited to try that when it becomes a thing, but for now the release notes on each little update don't really change, but they're doing some stuff under the hood. It just feels a little bit more refined with each update. In fact, I want to plug AI Driver on YouTube. He does a lot of great content keeping up to date with, pun intended, with FSD iterations. So I recommend you check out every update that he's put out, because it's always really cool to see everything. He keeps saying oh my gosh, I'm not going to have a job anymore because FSD is getting so good. It's good, but it's still not quite there yet. Hence my license plate, FSD-ish. But at the same time, we are 40 minutes into the drive. I have countless turns, construction zones, hills, stoplights, traffic, morning traffic, sun glare, and I have yet to touch a steering wheel, so pretty good. The other thing I wanted to mention, back at home we left about 51 degrees Fahrenheit. Now it's down to 48 because we have been climbing elevation. I do expect it to be a bit chilly over some of the passes, but we're definitely not in the bitter winter weather anymore. This road trip timing works out really well. The last few weeks have been very cold in Colorado. A lot of snow, a lot of single-digit temperatures, especially considering wind chill. So I'm excited to spend some time in the 50s, sometimes in the 40s on this trip. Should be sunny the whole way. I do see a bit of a storm, but according to the radar is north of the highway. Conveniently, the radar on the car map is what showed me that. And yeah, we should be able to circumvent it pretty easily. So, enjoying the drive so far. It is beautiful out, and just doing FSD chill mode for the most part. I'll probably mess with standard and hurry just a bit. My last road trip, I used the hurry profile, which definitely also hurt efficiency and actually went faster than most people would be comfortable, which is really interesting. So I think a lot of people would end up using chill, or standard's probably the most common option. And that is one complaint with FSD. We have to do a whole video on FSD soon, honestly, me and Kyle and maybe Andreas, just to talk about how it's been lately. But it annoys me that still chill, standard, and hurry seem to prioritize lane placement over anything. It's kind of annoying. I want to be chill, but I still want it to be aggressive in its lane changes. I wish that was a dynamic setting, but maybe in the future. I originally thought about doing a road trip out east, but I've already done that for New Year's. There wasn't a whole lot to see. Still interesting to experience the car on the road trip format, but 30 miles in and we've only used 10% of the battery. So that's with a lot of climbing. So pretty good so far. It is fun being on the route that is effectively the hogback challenge. And it is funny being behind a Rivian right now, which is probably not using their driver assistance because it can't really do that well in here. Most of it does pretty well, but like the construction zones, I know they've had to take over as a driver, whereas this Tesla Model 3 has been flawless through construction zones, through all the tightest turns. I mean, this is the one car that has done the flawless hogback ADAS driver's assistance challenge. So, notably on this stretch of road, a lot of construction, a lot of changes, a lot of lane improvements and moving of lanes. It is wild that there's so many potholes. That is one benefit of the Surpass AS01 tire by Nokian. It is ultra high performance all season. The ultra high performance aspect, I've been focused a lot on my Miata. That's clearly a performance car, especially now it's turbocharged. This Model 3 is not so much of a performance car, even though it is fun rear-wheel drive, nearly 300 horsepower, or is it just over 300 horsepower? I forget. Either way, but the Surpass AS01 does have pothole protection done in the way of aramid fibers on the sidewalls. So the sidewalls are much stronger than a lot of other tires. So that is essentially built-in pothole protection, subsequently built-in peace of mind because of the horrendous nature of Colorado roads. So it's been great having them on now both these cars, because I do drive a lot of Colorado's horrible roads, and I'm less worried about the pothole situation. Let's just say that. I do wish FSD would avoid potholes. It's really bad at avoiding potholes, but at least I have the tires to protect me. So it is definitely a strong headwind right now, which sucks. It's a very real part of road tripping through the mountains, though. It's very not unusual. But it's only for a short amount of time. Then we should get to the other side of the headwind. The storm is kind of up in the mountains, so I think we'll be okay. There's a little bit of flurries right now, but it's probably going to be a little bit of flurrying at the Eisenhower Pass. Then all downhill. Should be nice. Should be nice and sunny on the other side. What's crazy though is that even with the headwind, my car is predicting I need to stop and charge for 6 minutes. That is it. To do a 9-hour day of driving from Denver to Park City, I have to stop and charge one time for 6 minutes. And that's to arrive with 10%. So technically, if I was to arrive at 0 out of spec style with the buffer, it could be like a 3-minute charging stop, which is crazy. If this headwind had been a tailwind, I probably could have made it without charging, which is just crazy. So I'm curious to see if that's accurate. I will be charging extra because I don't have charging at this place I'm staying. So not gonna like arrive with 0%, even though that would be fun. But that's pretty wild to me. So I'll probably keep an eye on how long what I charge up to, and then go past that, but then see what I arrive with, just to see how accurate it is, of course. But yeah, that's pretty insane. Still have not yet touched the steering wheel. Enjoying some podcasts. Curious what you guys do on road trips. I know a lot of you road trip your EVs or other cars in general. What is your go-to choice of entertainment? I myself love podcasts. I do like music too. Sound system in this base Model 3 is pretty good, although I wish you could have gotten the premium sound system as an option. This car, I don't think I mentioned it earlier, was originally priced at about $42,000. The only option it came with was the white interior, so that was an upcharge. But I got the free paint because I had it wrapped this gorgeous satin jade color. But yeah, I would have paid a bit extra for the premium sound system. Even though the base sound system's still really good, it just lacks a little bit of that low-end fullness that I would love. And having just recently driven the new Model Y, oh, that would be so amazing. Okay, well, the reality of the situation is that we've been driving for an hour and 15, close to an hour and a half. We've only used 25% of the battery, even driving up into the mountains. And I've had some coffee. So I'm making a stop way before the car needs to stop. So we should have some convenience stores, gas stations right up ahead. Yep, looks like one right here, 7-Eleven. Very nice. So I am going to take over steering and just pull in here. Of course, it would have pulled in by itself if I had it as a destination, but this is a whimsical stop. Okay, well, first of all, this area is stunning. It is so gorgeous. But also, we are nearly 100 miles into this drive. It has been colder than expected. We've climbed over 2,000 feet net elevation gain, and it's been a lot windier than expected. And we're still doing 4 miles per kilowatt hour. That's insane. And I am just unbelievably floored by this scenery. I love this state, especially in the winter. This is so absolutely gorgeous. But I have to mention, FSD just back there randomly tried to go into the oncoming traffic lane. It used a turn signal, which is why I was like notified, and then that's why I was able to stop it. I was like, excuse me, no idea why. There was nothing on the shoulder, literally no reason for it to try to move over. Yet FSD practically tried to kill me. I mean, no one was in the oncoming traffic lane, thankfully, but like someone could have at some point in the near future. Like that's a terrifyingly weird problem. No idea what happened. But otherwise, I am just speechless. This is beautiful. So we just went over some unexpectedly snowy passes. I mean, I shouldn't be that unexpected. It is still winter technically, but it's like 60 degrees down the front range, almost 50 where I'm headed. I don't always think about everything in between, but these tires are totally fine. Granted, the roads were treated recently, but there were still some little snowy spots here and there. And even though these are ultra high performance, they're still all seasons where I'm not as afraid as I would be with like crazy high performance summer/track tires. I've had these even in the snow with my Miata briefly. Not heavy snow, but like active snow covered roads. Still was okay. I know that's not the use case, but it is nice. It has added some peace of mind of road trips like this, where it's like, well, I don't necessarily want a dedicated snow tire because I do want the maximum efficiency and maybe even some performance for some canyon blasts. So we've done now 150 miles, still averaging over 4 miles per kilowatt hour despite all the passes, the snow, the cold weather, the wind. I'm honestly pretty floored at this point. The state of charge, the next stop, has oscillated a bit. We were going to a supercharger in Vernal, Utah, which was pretty impressive, honestly, that we could make it all the way through the state of Colorado. Not as the crow flies, mind you. It's windy roads in the mountains and everything. still making it all the way to Utah. The state of charge on arrival has oscillated between 7 to 12%. Now it's staying 7, and it said 6% briefly, and then it tried to add a stop in Craig, Colorado, because I guess maybe 6% is the cutoff where it's like, we better add another stop. It started preconditioning. I was like, no, wait. I think we can make it. We're at 53% state of charge right now. I'm pretty sure we'll be fine. We'll reassess when we get closer to Craig just to make sure, but I think we'll make it to Vernal, no problem. Juice up really quick there. It's saying probably 15 minutes charge time now, because I do think we used more energy than the car expected because of all the wind. So now it's saying 6%. So we'll keep an eye on that. We are still 170 miles away at 53% state of charge. So I do know it'll be a low percentage arrival, but we'll see. There may be a quick stop in Craig, but I'll keep you all posted. Until then, enjoying more beautiful views as we approach Steamboat Springs, Colorado. I have now taken 2 stops since leaving my home, and the car has still not needed to stop at all. We just hit 44% state of charge, averaging exactly 4.5 miles per kilowatt hour. That's 225 watt hours per mile, which is pretty wild. We've done almost 200 miles now. I have a Hummer limo staring down my back. He won't pass me. And it's full of like 8 guys with snowboards. They stopped at the gas station back there to get like 4 cases of Coors Light. Based. But yeah, basically I feel like depends where you're traveling. Obviously, if you're going through the Midwest, Kansas especially, Texas, you're doing 80, 85 miles an hour. Even some cases the speed limit's 85 miles an hour. Chewing through miles, chewing through energy. It does make sense why people would need higher range EVs there, but especially in Colorado and a lot of areas in the western part of the US, you just don't need like crazy range. I've done lucid road trips all around the western US. It doesn't really need 500 miles of range. I'm always having to stop way before the car does. That does give you the flexibility of picking and choosing your charging stops. And so I guess routes like this, there are only 2 charging stops possible, and the car decided we only need 1 of them. But even if I did need both, it's still giving me like 3 hours between stops, which is a long time. All right, we are in Craig, Colorado, which is the first charging stop option along this route. 200 miles exactly from my home. So that's interesting to know. I guess if I had like an older standard range Model 3, one of the much lesser range ones, I think that would make it here, but it'd be closer. But there they are on the left there. Not a single person, but it looks like a nice Maverick fueling station. Great place for a charger. Amenities. I see trash cans next to the chargers. That's really quite nice. So, like I said, this is the original stop my Tesla was going to tell me to stop in and charge up just a little bit, but it's still saying 5% arrival at the next supercharger, which is out in Utah. So I'm tempted to just keep going. I know we'll make it. 5%'s plenty fine. I know there's some buffer below 0 as well, so not that you always want to lean on that, but I probably trust the BMS at this point. I did charge my car to 100% last night. It's only the second time it's been charged to 100% actually, but I think everything looks good. Nice coffee shop right there, breakfast all day. I would stop there if I had more time, for sure. But yeah, this is my first time in Craig, Colorado. Actually, it's my first time everywhere. I've been to Steamboat, but I've never been further west of Steamboat in the northern Colorado region. So I'm excited to see all new territory and bring you along for the ride. But yeah, Craig looks like a decent sized town. So we'll just keep cruising through the main strip. It's one of those situations where the main strip is divided in two. So it's 3 lanes one way and then 3 lanes the other way, like a block over there. Here comes the Hummer passing me on the right. That thing is so sick. We're too far from Utah. Our charger's in 48 miles and it is in Utah, and we're passing mile marker 17 right now. So I think we're actually only 17 miles from the border using that logic. Approaching 300 miles on the road trip already and still on the first charge. Crazy awesome how that's a thing. Whoop, see right there. It just tried to, what the heck? What the heck? FSD is drunk driving, trying to avoid these tar lines on the road. Holy crap. Okay, FSD clearly cannot handle this type of pavement. 4 times now, it's woven into the oncoming traffic lane to avoid what it thinks is an obstacle in the road, and it's actually just this tar that's been used to fix cracks in the pavement. High contrast environment, totally get it. But this is when camera-only sensors really do not work. Whoa, there we go again. FSD is not liking all these strange markings on the pavement. But it's like picking and choosing what is actually a line or not. Okay, now we should be safe. But like, that was like 5 miles of FSD weaving between lanes. And I'm trying to understand how is it picking what could be an obstacle versus what is just tar. Here we go again. Oh my gosh. Now I'm driving on the wrong side. And okay. FSD, can we go back over, please? Please! What are you doing? I'm not taking over because there's no one out here, but the screen can tell that it's like I'm on the wrong side of the road. Can we please go back over? Thank you. That's pretty wild that it struggles this much with these lines. Now, their defense is that, you know, human eyes are just as good as cameras, but it's not really getting the full 3D effect, maybe? I don't know. Like, my eyes can tell that these are flat, they're not obstacles, but depending on how they're processing the data, they could see it as an obstacle, but they should use the triangulation of multiple cameras to detect that it's not an obstacle. We just basically did an autocross course without cones. Holy crap. Well, that's enough excitement for the day. All right, we just entered Utah, almost exactly 300 miles on the nose. Still averaging exactly 4.5 miles per kilowatt hour, or 225 watt hours per mile, and it's beautiful out here. It looks just like Utah. It's funny how it just instantly, well, I guess it's gradually becoming more Utah in the last 50 miles or so, but now this is what I think of when I think of Utah. And the views are amazing. I love going west from Denver. I'm not nearly as interested going east. So what topics do you have to consider with efficiency? A lot of you are nerd viewers, like love nerdy EV things, love to be efficient, love to understand how to optimize and optimize and optimize. I think it's worth talking about that on a trip like this where I am really trying to be efficient. One of the things, of course, associated with the Nokian tires on this car is the tires and wheels. There's a reason why, something like a Plaid has a much lower range than a normal long-range Model S. If you have the same wheels and tires, probably not the biggest difference, but something like a Plaid has much wider tires, wider contact patch, less focus on aerodynamics with the wheel design. All of that really adds up, I think, pretty dramatically. Tires alone can really affect EVs. That's even partially why we've seen such an improvement on the new Model 3 versus the old ones. The new tires they're delivered on, including my Highland here, are just more efficient. The new Model Y, Tesla stated, has a much more efficient tire design. Nokian has focused on efficiency with these Surpass AS01. Part of that is the aramid fibers, and it makes it both stronger, capable of handling the weight of an EV, but also lower rolling resistance. It's not melding into the concrete as much, and every single bit of contact you have does hurt your efficiency because of, well, friction. Another point is, of course, the shape of the car. By not having a spoiler on the back of my car, I am helping my efficiency just a hair. And even, Model 3 Performance has those air-like strakes on the edges of the grille, or the bumper, I should say. Those can also hurt efficiency because it's more places for the air to get trapped in. It is air flowing into like cooling the brakes and stuff. Like, it's useful, but more in a performance aspect rather than the efficiency aspect. That's why you don't often see those things hand in hand. Then there's also the external environmental factors, such as wind, like we've been facing with this road trip. It's been a lot of wind most of the drive, and a good chunk of it has been headwind, which is why I'm partially so impressed that I'm still getting 4.5 miles per kilowatt hour. But it's wild to think about the fact that if I had no wind, I could have seen probably 5 miles per kilowatt hour, something like that, which would be, I don't know, I'm just so impressed at that number. Of course, temperature is also a factor. Just with lower temperatures, you have less capacity to use in the battery. It's also harder on the car's thermals. It's hard to keep the cabin warm, or if it's a really, really hot day, I guess it's hard to keep the cabin cool, but generally EVs do a lot better in warmer weather. We are now in Utah where it's 54 degrees ambient, which should really help the efficiency on the last stretch of this drive, offsetting some of the wind in the early stretch of the drive. Of course, in higher wind environments, or really just in general, your speed also plays a huge role. So I could see some people doing 85 through here, even though the speed limit is 65. I'm actually doing closer to the speed limit this entire drive. I have FSD set in chill mode, which also really helps with the efficiency. If you're not in a hurry, you'll just burn less juice. That's just kind of how it works. So by me not doing 10 miles an hour over the speed limit, that's helping out a lot and makes me feel a bit more comfortable, because I've definitely seen quite a few cops out, some of them more hidden than others. This is just a safer way to go all around. But it is funny how in the span of like a couple hours, I went from having climate heating me to now climate cooling me. I went from 30 degrees up to now 55 and sunny, which is fantastic. So I'm excited to roll into my first charging stop over 5 hours into the trip. At that point, it'll be close to 6 hours. Of course, another aspect of efficiency is just easing into the throttle. That goes kind of hand in hand with speed, but just doing gradual acceleration, which chill mode is pretty good at, does help. But it was interesting to see the couple stoplights I did hit where I was in the front of the row. Chill mode still accelerated more aggressive than anyone else around me, like the gas cars around me. So even then, if I had accelerated as slow as them, I probably could have saved a tiny bit more juice. Like, every little bit counts. There are people who try to really hypermile it. I'm not hypermiling. I'm just doing casual road tripping, I guess you could say. Still using climate control, not trying to go slow, not trying to go under the speed limit, just going at or slightly above. Looks like chill mode sometimes goes a little bit above the speed limit. Just depends what the flow of traffic is doing as well. So I'm curious if you guys have any other efficiency tactics. I know, like I said, a lot of you are obsessed with trying to get every watt hour per mile that you possibly can trimmed off, because lower watt hours per mile is better. Or I guess I could say every mile per kilowatt hour that you possibly can. Either way, I think it's kind of a fun game at times, but I know sometimes you're just trying to get somewhere and you're not trying to enjoy road tripping. Like, it's just a means to an end. But I think flying is for that. I get it, flying is more expensive, but it's nice to have this road trip, just a peaceful way to travel. I'll be doing, of course, a charge at this stop, and then I'll see what I get to my final destination with, and we'll do some math to see what we've spent on electricity. But I did charge to 100% at home. My cost of 12 cents per kilowatt hour multiplied by, I mean, I didn't do a full charge, but let's just assume I did like a full charge, like 80 kilowatt hours. That's still 10 bucks. Not bad at all. All right, so we just started preconditioning for fast charging at 9% stated charge. It's great that precondition's this low in the pack. And our arrival is still saying 4%. So that means using 5% to go the next 14 miles. The battery is currently at 35 degrees Celsius, so I don't think there's much preconditioning it'll do, but we'll see what we ramp up to when we plug in as usual. I'm expecting pretty good speeds, and hopefully they are, because I don't really want to stay that long. But it's crazy that I'm complaining, because again, it's been we're almost 6 hours. Once I get to the charger, it's exactly 6 hours after leaving my house, and it's the first charging stop. Wild. It'll be 325 miles on one charge. Still not hitting zero, so I probably could have gone another, I don't know, 30 miles, roughly. Some of the buffer and then some above the buffer. That's just crazy. So cool. We got 45 degrees Celsius on the battery. It is preconditioned as much as it chose to, and we are pulling up to what looks to be somewhat of a mall type situation. And the motor temperature, if anyone cares, is 66 degrees Celsius, and we are getting ready to pull in. Really curious if it parks itself or if it'll just let me take over. Okay, moment of truth. Does it see that there are Tesla superchargers? Does it recognize that they are the kind of perpendicular ones? That'll be interesting. And wow, I think it's reversing into the handicap stall. No, okay, it's definitely not going to the right place. Fine, I'll take over. So, final stats for the first leg of the drive. 6 hours on the dot, 4.5 miles per kilowatt hour. Absolutely fantastic. Let's get this thing plugged in. So that is actually better than I expected, given the strong wind we had in the beginning. It was actually fairly windy the rest of the time too. And the cold weather, the snowy temperatures, the snowy conditions. Not that much snow, of course, which is nice. But yeah, that was a really great leg. Can't believe we're charging now 6 hours after setting off. That is totally wild. Ramping up probably to full speed if I had to guess. Let's find out here. At the moment, it's only 162 kilowatts. It's saying 15 minutes to continue trip. I have to jump on a quick call, and then we'll see if that does the trick. It is slowly ramping up here, so it might have not preconditioned all the way because we are such low state of charge, but I think it was close. We'll see. All right, so according to the car, it did technically only take about 15 minutes like it expected to make it to the destination, but that would have been with a 0% arrival. So for the car to meet its own criteria of arriving with like 10%, it did actually take about 20 minutes. We just hit that mark. So I'm going to go ahead and unplug. I think 15 to 20% is good enough to arrive with. There is charging not too far away, and I might even be able to level 1 charge overnight, so that is going to be okay. So I guess we charged 3 to 63 in about 20 minutes. So that's fine, not amazing. I mean, it's tapered below 100 kilowatts after about 50%. Just not a groundbreaking charging curve. It's fine. I mean, it bought me enough time to take a phone call, use the bathroom, but man, it would have been so nice to be in here, rip a charge for 5 minutes and leave. That'll be the day. All right, just dipped below 80 kilowatts, which makes me sad. So I'm unplugging close to 20% ETA, should be good enough. And let's hit the road. Well, you join me in Park City, Utah. We have 5 miles left till our destination, but this is just about the end. Dropped the efficiency from about 4.5 miles per kilowatt hour down to 4 miles per kilowatt hour in this last stretch since the charger. It's been 140 miles. So we are about 465 miles. It'll be 470 by the time we get there. And the average of the entire trip is about 4.4, 4.3-ish. Mid to low 4 miles per kilowatt hour, which is really impressive. We had a lot of wind on this last stretch as well, which is why the efficiency went down a bit, and also some climbing once again. We are at about 7,000 feet elevation. Yours makes no difference. And that is a net climb of 800 feet or so since we first set out this morning. Now, what is that? 9 hours ago? So, 9 hours road trip, one stop that was 15 minutes, could have been, or one stop that was 20 minutes, could have been closer to 10 or 15. But yeah, we had to juice up a little bit so I didn't arrive here dead. And I am pretty floored. So, that's the first leg. Now we have to turn around and go back. But first, a day or two in Park City, which should be a lot of fun. The guys from Everyday Driver are going to be reviewing this car. Really excited to see what they think of the Highland Model 3 because they have not yet driven it. Curious what they think of FSD. Should be very interesting. And I'm about to jump on the Everyday Driver podcast, the Everyday Driver car debate, to talk EVs. So that should be a lot of fun. I'll let you know how that all goes, but that's pretty much it for this. We used just over 100 kilowatt hours to go 465 miles. And that's with, again, strong headwind, colder temperatures than I was expecting. If this had been no wind or a little bit of a tailwind with warmer temperatures, it's wild to think we could have made it here with one charge or with not even charging. That's pretty crazy. The car did have to recalculate quite a bit with the wind. But initially when I left this morning and removed all charging stops, it said minus 10% arrival here, which is pretty crazy. So, didn't happen, obviously, but I'd be really curious to try this in summer if I ever see a day with like an unusual east to west wind, because it's usually west to east out here. So, also I had to stop and eat a corn dog because I was so hungry, and that was probably the best corn dog of my life. You join me on the next day. This is one of my 2 static days here in Park City, and I am at clearly a new supercharger installation. There are, I believe, 16 stalls, and they are conveniently the front and back ones. So you see some cars parked there, notably a Model S that can't park, but there's plenty of stalls to go around. So these are the V4 dispensers, connected with, I guess, V3 cabinets. This is basically a V3 plus situation here. And yeah, you can do the instructions there. I guess you still have to start these on your app. They don't have the payment terminals or anything like that. But plenty long cables, which should reach a variety of EVs. And there's the Magic Dock situation, the CCS plug still in there. So theoretically, anyone could come and charge here, but apparently no one's really charging here. Somehow that Nero is not charging here. That Model 3 is not charging, so I guess not everyone has to charge. But this is pretty cool. I wanted to check this out because I came and saw this under construction maybe something like a year ago. So it's cool to see it finally opened. You can actually look at the cabinets over here, but you have trash and even recycling out here. A few restaurants, things nearby, so some things to do. Ace Hardware in case that's your thing. And let's see, cabinet 5, 4, looks like 5 cabinets total, powering all 16 of these. So pretty sweet to see this. Just juicing up the car before Paul and Todd from Everyday Driver do a review on it. Really curious to see what they think. They don't have a ton of Tesla experience. There's no Teslas in the press fleet, of course, and they review cars out here in Park City, Colorado, which is yeah, not the most electric forward location. So it's always interesting to see their take on cars. They did do a review on Kyle's Cybertruck, which I brought through here last year in April, so that was kind of fun. So it'd be interesting to have them experience this plus experience FSD. I got it cleaned up a bit, so we'll just keep charging. We also recorded a podcast last night. I joined the Everyday Driver podcast to discuss the state of EVs in the industry as a whole, because a lot of the word on the street is like, oh, EVs are scaling back, all the manufacturers are changing their plans, maybe it's not the future. But I do think there was a bubble during COVID. Things got kind of rolled back after the COVID bubble popped a bit, so EVs are still on the rise. It's just not as a sharp, aggressive curve as it was. So that's what I was kind of discussing on the podcast. It was a lot of fun, definitely worth checking out. But yeah, just gonna keep charging here. No idea what the rest of the day holds, but it's kind of fun to be out here. A lot of snow everywhere. We're up here at over 7,000 feet now, which is again why I'm so impressed with the car. It's averaging nearly 4.5 miles per kilowatt hour. Even with the climbing, the winter, I already went into all that, but I'm still just like... All right, I've done a bit more driving. I am now charging on the next day, back at this V4 post installation. Really awesome couple right there with their kiddo and the roof box and the Model Y looking really good. They just got it. This is their first electric road trip, and it's pretty awesome to talk to people trying out their first electric road trips, learning what works. They're using FSD as well, and they've been really pretty impressed with it. So we got to nerd out about, you know, chill and hurry and standard modes and everything. It was a lot of fun. I love talking to people at these charging stops. That guy has a water bottle the same color as my car, so he wanted to show me. It's just really fun to talk to people. But those guys right there watch Out of Spec Detailing, so they're big fans of Colton. So shout out to Colton and his good work over there. But I'm doing a deep charge right now because I'm gonna head back to my friend Paul's house and do a little bit of an overnight charge there, and that should get me back on the road in the morning with pretty much full. He only has level 1 charging at the moment, no level 2, although I'm trying to talk him into it. So we'll be good to go in the morning, and we'll see how our efficiency fares when we continue, because that's kind of the stats right now. Whopping 4.3 miles per kilowatt hour, and that is with, I mean, colder temperatures. Again, we are at 1,000 feet higher than where I left at home, and a lot of headwind. Maybe we'll have some tailwind on the way back, but if we don't, that means this was stacked against us and we are still rocking with good efficiency.
Sinkety sink, sink, sink. I'll find that in post.
All right.
Right now I have a friend behind the wheel, not driving.
Not driving.
You're just sitting there.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the channel, Paul. This car, I brought this out here. You guys could check it out and I guess experience FSD in its latest iteration.
You know, I'm glad you did. I've got a friend who has extolled the virtues of FSD to me. He is a dual Tesla owner. He has a Cybertruck wrapped in Bitcoin orange. Ooh. And he also has a Model Y for the family.
Yep.
And he has been extolling the virtues, how good FSD is, and I've kind of been not dismissive, but nodding my head and smiling, because we did experience a while back, I suppose you could consider it level 1 FSD, but you know, it was okay, and we've experienced various levels. We have now experienced FSD at where it's at. You mentioned it was level 2+, is that correct?
Yeah, that's basically what they're calling it. So it's hands-free, but eyes on the road.
And eventually, hands-free, eyes-free, don't climb in the back. And pretend to fall asleep and ignore the world, because that's when accidents happen. And at that point, I feel like up to now, people have been too trusting for the systems, for all these systems. And where we're at now is very, very impressive, and will only continue to get more impressive. But I'm still paying more attention to what's going on with the car, except this iteration, my trust level has increased. It's impressed me enough where it's not so robotic and artificial. It's doing that human-influenced thing where it's exceeding the speed limit slightly, or it's not always exactly centered in the lane. It's feeling more natural, which is making me more comfortable as a passenger.
Yeah,
here
it feels like a human, which is really cool, but simultaneously, I think, slightly scary because I've experienced this system now for 6,000 miles.
You've been living with it.
And
really,
it is so impressive, and I am so trusting that I have to keep catching myself, and I feel like people will start maybe trusting it. I'm scared of people trusting it too much.
Agreed. This is a great example. You're coming up to a light, and it's choosing, because there's 3 cars here, and it's choosing, just like a human would, to take the space with the least path of resistance. There's fewer cars here.
Yeah.
It did that as it's coming into the light, just like a human would assess the situation and choose, you know what, there's only 1 truck here, 2 cars already here, let's just pull in behind that before anybody else does.
Yeah.
The choices that have influenced it, impressive.
Yeah, it's very human.
But then you've cut to the tar snakes that are giving it fits. You're driving in the oncoming lane. Thank God you're in the middle of nowhere and not up against anything.
And it'll be interesting to see as it progresses, as it gets to that point where people are starting to find its edge cases. Tesla realizes what it needs more training on. It gets the training and then probably does better. That's how it's gotten to where it is now. It has had so much training data, but there's still so many edge cases. So that's ultimately what it is, solving for the edge case.
Still dangerous. Sometimes it pulls in and sometimes it doesn't. And so your awareness is still elevated to see if it's going to do the fail.
Yep.
That's where we're at now.
Yep.
Before it was, will it do it? Now we know for the most part, yes, it will. Now we're waiting for the fail, but our attention level is still high.
Yeah.
That's where we're at with this level 2+.
Yeah. So it's fun to explore and experiment, and other than the tar snakes situation, I didn't have any interventions on the way out here, which was a 9-hour day of driving. I had 1 quick charging stop in 9 hours of driving. It was gone are the days of the early EVs where it was like drive an hour, charge an hour, that whole debacle. So it'll be interesting to see where we go from here. But they've gotten range down pretty well. They could still improve their charging. There's a lot of things they could still improve, and I hope they keep improving and don't get lazy about it, because that's where, and I hope drivers don't get lazy about it. That's just my big concern with FSDs.
So here's a choice. Lane's shutting down to 1 lane. Cayenne wants to pass, and it knows, so all right, signal does the trick.
Yeah, I noticed even in chill mode, I was getting on the highway earlier, or it was getting on the highway, I didn't do anything, and it did what I would consider hurry level acceleration.
In chill mode?
In chill mode, because it was on-ramp highway. The only way to get past traffic was to...
Okay, so that was...
So it knows enough to kind of almost override its own settings, but that's also scary. Appreciate your thoughts. I mean, this is quite a different beast from the Cybertruck, and it's hilarious that those are both from the same company, because you've driven many thousands of cars, and sometimes you get in one from a company and you're like, it could have been any of you blindfold me, it could be any Volkswagen. Not to name drop, but
not to skewer them again, because they deserve it.
Which T? The Tiguan?
Name it. The T word. They've leaned into it. Why that? I'd like to know no, actually I don't. I don't want to. I don't want to be in the board meetings. I don't want to know, but they've certainly leaned into it. But I love how the car just aims for the potholes. It's really great with everything else. It sees pedestrians, it sees the road, it sees cars, everything. It paints a wonderful picture on the screen, and then it aims for the pothole. If all these humans have, over time, avoided the potholes, and that is training data that is available to the car, why wouldn't it identify the pothole from all the training and then notify the Department of Transportation in every state to say, fix the pothole?
That's the ultimate goal. when we don't have to do the annoying call in, hey, so this pothole popped my tire, the whole...
It happens all winter long. New potholes form that were not there, but the training data is available because drivers are doing this. They're going around, whatever they're doing.
I mean, data is powerful, and so I think we will get to that point when maybe these cars, the fleet, the hive mind out there could alert authorities on potholes, but also even accidents. I mean,
yes,
these cameras will see accidents and possibly even notify authorities before someone gets on the horn. So, like we almost saw just there.
Speaking of which, no, I'm all for this getting better and better because it's personal for me, for the ability to provide freedom and a quality of living, and that is directly related to your health.
Right.
To be able to get about mobility,
exactly,
it's freedom, and that improves people's outlook on their lives.
Yeah, that's a
like
huge factor.
Crazy.
Not many people talk about is the notion of mobility disabilities and being able to do more and more than you could with most other cars.
It's almost still a novelty stage. We're paying attention, we're marveling, like, look how great it's doing, until it doesn't. But for the most part, it will give people that ability, even if, you know, at a mild disability, just the freedom to be able to count on it for the most part.
Yeah.
And then you still have the ability to override if you need to. Great.
Yep.
I appreciate it a lot. And this particular system with radar having disappeared, as you mentioned, in 2021. What was it, mid 2021?
Yeah, sometime that
you said that?
Turned it off. Or stopped making them with radars entirely.
Interesting.
So this car doesn't even have a radar sensor, and that's a huge other discussion of sensor fusion. And it's a lot. And so I'm excited to get out here again sometime and maybe bring the next iteration. See what you guys think of it.
Next version. Well, it'll still be on this car because it'll just update. Right?
It'll just update. So until then, you enjoy your beautiful mountains.
Thank you.
I'll think of them from afar.
You're welcome back anytime. Anytime, man. Great to have you.
Good morning. Packed up, locked up, ready to go. Departing with 94% state of charge. I did level 1 charge overnight, starting from 83, got up to 96%, then warming the cabin, dropped it to 94%, even while I was plugged in. So definitely, if you're using level 1 charging, pre-warming your cabin may not work super well. But our efficiency, we're at 4.3 miles per kilowatt hour, or 232 watt hours per mile. Again, I'm very impressed with that number. And 629 miles on the clock. I did some driving around Park City, of course, so that will contribute to that. But I think we are ready. We're gonna jump out across the mountains once again on a beautiful day, another beautiful day to travel. And we are navigating to Craig, Colorado. So this may be, once again, another one-stop shop to get back to the other side, to Denver, Colorado. What's interesting is the Tesla route planner made it look like it was absolutely not possible. Back on FSD once again. Feels good. Another thing that's interesting is on the Tesla app, you can do route planning, which is cool. It is more limited than the car. In my 3-month review on Out of Spec Reviews, some people did come out in defense of the app saying, no, it does have good route planning. I, at some point, I guess, didn't realize early on that you could adjust stops, but you still can't adjust the state of charge on arrival. There's just a few things that you can't do in the actual app on the phone. It seemed to tell me that I couldn't make it to Craig, Colorado, but now I have Craig put in as the destination. It says 16% on arrival. So not really sure what that's all about, because that was even assuming 100% departure this morning, which I did not get that high. I only got to 96, which was then 94 after warming up the cabin. So I guess we'll see. That state of charge could drop precipitously, but weather looks pretty good. I think we'll be all right, and I think it will be the one stop that I was hoping. And then I'm hoping to arrive dead in Colorado, because me and Ryan are going to do a charging test. So that should be a lot of fun, and we'll see how little energy I can use on this trip across the Rockies once again. So let's talk conditions. We are out here in the Arctic tundra, basically, somewhere east of Park City, and heading to Vernal, Utah, which was my first charging stop the other direction. Now that I'm going this way, I'm skipping it, going to Craig. So I'm trying the 2 chargers between my house and Park City that are on this scenic route through the mountains, the most direct route, technically. And yeah, it is currently 1 degree Fahrenheit, which is very cold Celsius. And today was supposed to be warmer. It will be warmer in certain areas, but of course, I am somewhat restricted to whatever the conditions are here. And right now, that's 1 degree. It is sunny, and wind is essentially non-existent. I'm hoping we have a little bit of a tailwind at some point during this drive to maybe counteract some of the headwind we had coming out here, but it's not necessarily guaranteed. Here we have FSD just casually crossing a lane. That's really funny. No turn signal or anything. Very human-like. But it is beautiful out here. Absolutely stunning. I love the scenery. I'm excited to take this same route back home. Partially because it's gorgeous. Like I will probably never, if I can, never take I-70 or I-80 to Park City again, because this is the beautiful route, the most direct route, and the least traffic, typically, because I-70 traffic can be terrible. So I guess keep enjoying the scenery, but man, I am nice and warm in here. But our estimated state of charge upon arrival at the supercharger in Craig, Colorado is 15%. It's wavered from 10 to 20. Settled in at 15. That's probably pretty realistic. We'll see if it gets any colder while we're out here. It is so cold out there. Wow. All right, here we are back at the Tar Snake Terror. That's on a pretty bad name. Work in progress, name in progress. We'll see how FSD does here. It's already done 1 swerve, which is why I turned on the cameras. Of course, now that I'm recording, we're hitting some brakes here. We'll see what it does. I do think it's interesting that I posted this clip on Twitter yesterday of coming out here through this section, and people all over the place commented, wow, FSD is terrible, it's useless. Other people were like, FSD is amazing, this is a minor thing, it just needs training. A lot of debates amongst people about the sensor fusion, whether that's a real fix or not at all. The training does help. A lot of people's comments are saying, well, we have eyes, we don't have radar, we can use our eyes to see that the car is swerving to avoid nothing, because I can see way down the road and see that there's nothing physically on the road. But it is interesting that it can, I guess, detect objects, but not really determine what's like an object on top of the road versus what's an object literally in the road, which is what this tar would be. Oh my gosh. So a lot of people also pointed out it would not do that if there was oncoming traffic. So we have oncoming traffic coming. I am ready. My hands are on the wheel. If it does anything, I will grab it. But my theory is that they are correct. It would never swerve into an oncoming traffic lane. That guy was scared though, because he saw me swerve before he showed up. And the car focuses on just driving in the lane, objects or not, to avoid hitting other cars. That logic does make sense, but it's still terrifying when Granted, no one's out here, but the car is weaving all over the road. Now there's no oncoming traffic. We'll see what it does again. But it's just a very interesting, again, edge case, but definitely curious to see what training sort of data they could or need to use. Maybe they'll use all of my footage, because this is notably a big failure with FSD at the moment, and it'll get probably a decent amount of views of eyes on it. I mean, my Twitter post got like 30,000 views of just people also tagging Tesla and Tesla AI and all that stuff. So, but hey, that's great. As much coverage as possible is good on FSD. What works, what still needs work. That's why I'm always using FSD. It's hard because I'm a driving enthusiast. I like driving. This is a fun rear-wheel drive car with 300 horsepower. Like, that's great, but it's my job to really find out all the limitations of FSD, all the edge cases, and yeah, makes it into the videos. Wow, okay, we're through the tar snake section, and it weaved maybe 3 times, whereas on the way out, it weaved, I lost track, at least 30 plus. So that is an improvement. It's hard to say whether it is because of the relatively consistent oncoming traffic, or if it is just better than it was last time. Really not sure. Conditions are similar. Lighting conditions are, maybe it was a little bit harsher lighting on the way out because of the sun reflecting a little bit off the tar snakes, but it still wasn't like a low sun situation. So I'm not really sure, again, why that was so bad on the way out and why it's so much better this time. Anyways, continuing on, we're about 1 hour from our charging stop in Craig, Colorado. The state of charge was oscillating heavily, anywhere up to 20%, down to, well, now 6%, but it's staying constant at 6%. So I think that is the state of charge that we will arrive with, which is good. Curious when it'll start preconditioning, curious what it'll precondition to. I'm gonna definitely maybe even do a little bit of a charge recording here just to see what the ideal, optimal, roughly 5 to 50 or whatever we end up charging to is. 4 stalls available out of how many? Out of 8. So currently the station's half full. It is a V3, so we should have no issues at that. It's saying a 20-minute charging stop to get us to Superior with 5%. However, I want to get to Superior with 0%. So this might be a little bit of a shorter charge, but we do have to climb some elevation before we get back down, so I can't charge too little. So yeah, we'll find out. But either way, so far so good. Excited to have only 1 charging stop this whole trip. Actually 2 charging stops other than the charging I did in Park City, which is nice. So we'll find out the battery temperatures and stuff when we get closer to the charger, and I'll report back in on our nerdy statistics. All right, we just pulled up. It is 5% state of charge, 18 miles range remaining. And we need 56% to get to Tesla. So we're gonna plug right in. We did 250 watt hours per mile, so 4 miles per kilowatt hour exactly. It's frustrating. We had some headwind both directions, which is definitely a real possibility. This is a Magic Dock, by the way, super cool. And a Magic Dock Plus, we have some charge point and a nice Maverick fueling station. We have trash receptacles, windshield cleaning devices. I mean, this is everything you might need. So the car preconditioned to 46 degrees Celsius on the battery. We'll see if that was enough. I'm always curious to see if what is the optimum temperature that it's really trying to choose. But it seems to be 46 because it did stop preconditioning as soon as right about when I pulled up. So I'm guessing we should see a ramp up to 250 kilowatts we should. We'll see. It's saying 20 minutes to continue trip, so that means 12:20 to 12:25, give or take. But we'll see. I do want to aim for a 0% arrival at Tesla. And this preconditioning number, as long as it's accurate, that gives me a good idea of what to plan to arrive to Tesla at. So, looks like we are ramping up to right about full speed. Not a super fast ramp, but not bad. And there we go. 250 kilowatts. Perfect. It actually is a bit over. So, we'll let it charge here, and I'm going to run inside, see what's around. Snack is for sure in the works. I do have some umami seaweed sticks and chips in there, so that's a good deal. But yeah, we'll see how long it holds. 250. Also, I just checked, so for non-Tesla EVs to use the Magic Dock, 50 cents per kilowatt hour, unless you have the Tesla membership buy down thing, which is $12 a month, I think. That brings it down to 38 cents a kilowatt hour. Over there, it's 45 cents a kilowatt hour, flat rate, but after 45 minutes, you add 20 cents per minute. Very complex. I guess it does depend on your EV and what speeds you want, but depending on the EV, these will actually probably maybe charge faster. So that's interesting, but nice to have options here. Very, very nice. And we have ramps down already. Notably, we already complained about the Tesla charging curve a bit, so I'm at 25%, already about to drop below 200 kilowatts. And yeah, so it's not really going to hold 200 above 27% probably. Yep, there's the drop right there. So 14 minutes remaining to continue trip. I wish this percentage would show up. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, and it's very, very frustrating. The route planner is really good, but it's still not flawless. That's my main problem, which is annoying. So now it's saying 20 minutes charging. Set arrival energy, 5%, because it won't go below 5. I wish there was an option to arrive with 0. That would be really fun. Okay, still saying 14 minutes and still not telling me what I'll arrive with. So I guess we'll just follow that for now, but I do think I should get out of here fairly soon, down to 175 kilowatts, 31%. So riding that curve down. We've done 900 miles now, still over 4 miles per kilowatt hour on the entire trip. But yeah, the wind situation was definitely not ideal this trip. Headwind on the way out for most of it. And then this time, a little bit of no wind, also a little bit of headwind from the east, which doesn't usually happen. And yeah, not super ideal. So, all right, well, we got a quick 10 to 33 charge recording. I'm just going to compare that to the later charging. About 10 minutes left. I am eating healthy today, folks. So anyways, we've got like 10 more percent according to the route planner on the car. 13%. That's sometimes conservative. So I'm actually going to guess, I don't know, maybe we'll leave it 60%. We're at 50% right now. So it took us, what is that? About 15 minutes to go from 5 to 50. That is just not stellar. I don't care who you're asking. Then we're down to 100 kilowatts at 51%. Not bad, but not good. It's just neutral, I guess. But I'm almost done with the stop, and I had just enough time to run in there and grab, yeah, I don't know why. I've opted for a corn dog both times, and oh yeah, I should grab that off the roof. So yeah, we're about ready to head out, and Tesla at 4:15. That's kind of what I was thinking, unless we do any more stops for scenery, but I'm just trying to get back, honestly. But it's been a good trip so far. These tires have been great, comfortable, quiet, efficient, apparently, because despite our conditions, and yeah, still hasn't gotten up to 40 degrees, and we had a bunch of driving back there in single digits, which was crazy. Okay, we now have a negative 2% arrival with 62%. So it's saying 60% to go 205 miles. I'm inclined to say we unplug right when it hits 0, because sometimes this is too conservative, and I really don't want to burn that much extra juice just driving around when we get there. So I think, yeah, I think we're about ready. That's a 20-minute stop, basically. Not too shabby. One single 20-minute stop to get from Park City back to Denver. I'm impressed. So that'll put us at about 1,100 miles total on the trip. Really curious to see how this number changes as we keep continuing east. Maybe we'll get the tailwind back, which would be lovely. But here we go, 64%, 5 minutes to continue trip, 0% arrival. I think I'm gonna go for it. I can always scrub off a little bit of speed if I have to, but that's the plan. Let's get her done. Unplug, hit the road. Is it still gonna say 2%? That'll be the really interesting thing. Saying 1% with a 5-minute charge. What? But that's with no charging stops. Continue trip, okay. Confusing, but we're gonna go with that. There's some math for you. 1,000 miles, 238 kilowatt hours, 238 watt hours per mile. Basic math. We are 1,000 miles into the trip, and yeah, still over 4 miles per kilowatt hour, despite the cold and the wind. So I'm honestly pretty thrilled. Really excited to try road tripping these tires in summer conditions. I think that'll be just mind-blowing, because this car is just so efficient. I mean, most cars I would celebrate 4 miles per kilowatt hour during road trips on highways, but in the winter especially, totally crazy. But enjoy these views, wow. Welcome to the Johnson Tunnel at 11,150 feet elevation. Pretty high up here. Even with all this climbing, still pretty efficient. I have had FSD now in hurry mode because I did want to see how it handled the climb. And as you saw back there with that time lapse, it was weaving fairly aggressively through traffic. It was pretty wild. So that's kind of fun. Trying out a bit more of standard, a bit more of hurry. Really all the FSD profiles, and I guess to prove I'm not out here hypermiling, I'm just driving at the speed limit, possibly, allegedly, a bit over. Poor GPS accuracy is what the screen's saying. Additional attention may be required, which is interesting, but we're in a giant tunnel. The other side of the tunnel, the westbound one, is Eisenhower. That's the more famous word for these two tunnels, but it's a pair of tunnels, the Eisenhower-Johnson tunnels, very high section, and I-70, and a landmark for a lot of people who are traveling west to east or vice versa. But it's been a good trip back so far. We have about a little over an hour left to go. A lot of it is going downhill. I am here at 12% state of charge in the tunnel with, what would that be, roughly 50 or 60 miles left, which wouldn't sound normally possible with 12%, but we now have to go down. What goes up must go down. So, heading to a coffee shop really quick. I've wanted to stop here in many road trip videos. I don't think I ever have on this channel, but I'm excited to show you guys just a really quick glimpse of what I think is the best coffee in the Rocky Mountains. It is Plume Coffee Bar, located in Silver Plume, Colorado. It's not much in Silver Plume, but there's a really cute coffee shop that is delicious. So I'll be stopping there for sure. We are just 10 minutes away from that. Then we will continue on to the Tesla supercharger near my house, where I will finish the film, do a full wrap up, At the moment, we're showing 3% on arrival, so I'll probably do a little bit extra driving, but I'll make sure we're fully preconditioned and do a proper 0 to 100 charging test on the new Model 3. At our stop here in Silver Plume, that is the efficiency, that's the averages for everything. We're still higher than the supercharger. This is some mix of uphill, but also some downhill. And this is Plume coffee bar. I apologize for the wind, but this is a super cute place. I love it. I've been here many, many, many times through the mountains, and that's how it looks. Fun fact, that place that says bread is actually a cocktail bar. My girlfriend tried to go in there asking for bread. They laughed. Just seeing how FSD handles dirt roads. It's hitting every single pothole nice. Oh, it sped up through that one. That was rough. What in the world? Why is FSD so, like, if it's trained on humans and humans avoid potholes, why is FSD so adamant on hitting the potholes? I really don't understand. So now my car is filthy. Maybe I had a car wash on the way down, but we are now finally on the home stretch. And finally on this last stretch of the drive, 1 hour left, 54 miles, we finally have a little bit of a tailwind. So this should hopefully finally help. And we will have to be preconditioning to get to the charger, but it's also slightly lower elevation than my house, so it should all cancel out. I just really enjoy road tripping this thing. The seats are great. It's comfortable. It is quiet. The tires seem quiet. Everything is good. I'm relaxed, almost too relaxed. That's why this coffee was helpful. This is a phenomenal Americano. The coffee shop, sometimes there's a bit of a wait because there's usually one person running it, but so delicious. So happy to stop there anytime I can. If I'm passing through and they are open, I will be stopping. And now we'll just continue the rest of the drive. So enjoy a bit more of a time lapse, let you know if anything dramatic happens. But otherwise, it's been a good ride. All right, we've effectively made it approximately back. We're almost there. We are at 1% state of charge, and we have 3.8 miles to get to Tesla of Superior, which is where I am ending the trip, which is just a few minutes from my house, so it doesn't really make much of a difference. But yeah, 1,100 miles, and that is 235 watt hours per mile, which is just a hair under 4.3 miles per kilowatt hour, which, yeah, pretty good. Definitely some strong crosswind at the end there, and elevation all over the place. It was pretty interesting to see the efficiency throughout this drive, especially taking a variety of stops. I pretty much consistently had to stop twice as much as the car did for bathroom, food, etc. Because the car, yeah, one stop each way. Totally wild and totally impressive. And I think that just speaks to efficiency. I mean, having winter road tripping with over 4 miles per kilowatt hour is pretty huge. So I will take that. Can't wait to try to get a road trip with 5 miles per kilowatt hour, probably in better conditions. We should hit 0% in just a second here, which is perfect. The battery is preconditioned. We're sitting right about 40 to 45 degrees Celsius. There we go, 0 miles remaining, 0% state of charge, 2.7 miles left at the charger. Let's do this. FSD navigating around a bicycle there, nice. And yeah, I guess final thoughts for the trip before I meet up with Ryan and do a charging test on my car, which will be interesting and probably just showcase just how unfortunate the charging curve is. Really, really great trip. Always great to see Paul and Todd, our everyday driver. Excited to see what they film with this car. Probably a lot of talking about FSD because it seems to be the talk of the town, essentially. They don't spend a lot of time with Tesla vehicles, so I'm always interested to see what people outside of the EV realm, for the most part, they do test EVs, but not nearly as much as us. So it's very interesting to get their perspective, their thoughts. And of course, I went on their podcast talking about just the state of EVs right now. So, but as a road trip, this was fantastic. I've done a road trip on these tires with my Miata. It was awesome. I got to rip in the canyons and do fun things, and they were great from a performance aspect, but also with this road trip focusing on the efficiency aspect, it's cool to see that you have a long-lasting, high tread life, high performance, which I didn't really push performance on this trip, but having all those factors while retaining good efficiency is impressive. A lot of people who take delivery of their Model 3 or Model Y or really any Tesla with a long-range variant, they don't want to compromise the efficiency it was engineered for from the factory. But the fact that I have aftermarket wheels without aero covers, plus aftermarket tires, while retaining what seems to be the same, maybe even better than factory efficiency, speaks of volumes. So I'm pretty impressed. Maybe I'll check in with Ryan here at the charger and see what he thinks. I don't even think he's seen the car with the wrap yet. And we'll get his kind of final thoughts. But yeah, great trip. We've got pretty much half of the charging bank. There's 12 chargers, I think, and there's 7 available. Or maybe there's 16, there's 7 available. Either way, we shouldn't have any load sharing issues. So we'll see what the charging curve does. But road tripping wise, great drive. Glad the weather worked out okay. Now it's 63 degrees, so I probably better shed my jacket. And we'll see just how good the charging is and enjoy a sunset back in Colorado. Okay, I made it back and someone was waiting here for me to help with a charging test.
Happy to be here.
Plugging the Out of Spec testing channel where we put said charging tests, range tests, 10% challenges, hogback challenges, probably other challenges. So, Ryan, what do you think of the green Model 3?
I think it's nice that it's a different color.
Yeah.
wouldn't be the one that I would personally pick, but I do like it, and I think the wheels look really good.
Yeah, I'm a fan of silver. A lot of people said black would look good, and they're correct. There's a lot of black accents on the car, but I'm a fan of silver / bright colored wheels. So yeah, but done with my road trip. So the whole point was efficiency testing on these new Nokian Surpass ASL1 tires, and they did great. Good all-rounder, all-season tire, ultra high performance apparently. So gonna be taking this up in the canyons at some point, I think for Kyle's review video. But yeah, so that's really the end of the road trip. Pretty easy. I've summed up most of my thoughts in the car, but love road tripping. That's like what I live for, practically. I do fly a lot, but that's just because there's only so much time in the day or in the week. And yeah, I guess we'll find out. What's your prediction on charging time overall? It's a top balancing that really does
I think, well, when we plugged it in, it did say 55 minutes to get to 100%. I think it's gonna be about 55 minutes to get to like 97%, and it'll take another 10 minutes after that.
Yeah, so we'll see. Go check out the Out of Spec testing channel to find the full results of this, the new battery pack. There is roughly, according to Scan My Tesla, like maybe 2.5 to 3% degradation maybe, which I don't know if that's accurate, but I guess we'll see what we pull out of it and compare it to whatever Kyle's done with the Model 3 we were borrowing from Tesla, but that also had the same amount of mileage, so it might be about the same. It's got 6,000 miles on it, so it's not a fresh car, but it is a young car.
Yeah, within our specifications, we try to keep things under 10,000 miles, so.
Yeah. So I'll leave you guys there. Thank you so much for watching another out-of-spec motoring road trip. Many more to come, probably with this car, as well as lots of other cars on this channel. Stuff from Kyle, of course, in China recently, a UAE road trip coming up, and even Francie's road trip bringing the VinFast back to Memphis. Lots to stay tuned for, lots to make popcorn for. We'll see you later.